Hello and welcome to another Wizards of the East Coast EDH video. First up we have Andrew playing Nethroi, Apex of Death, a graveyard Abzan deck. Then we have Eric as Darien, King of Keldor, a mono white deck. Timmie is playing mono red Daretti Scrap Savant artifact based deck. And Sean is playing Mina Den Wildborn, a big dumb red green deck based on landfall. And here we have a nice little bonus photo of Timmie and his kids, Blood Moon and Wheel of Fortune. That's a joke. Timmie keeps an opening hand of Blood Moon, Throne of Geth, Silent Arbiter, Basalt Monolith, and 3 mountains. Eric keeps an opening hand of Wrath of God, Sword of Light and Shadow, Healer of the Pride, Darksteel Mutation, Banishing Light, Tarnished Citadel, and Ancient Tomb. Sean keeps an opening hand of Priest of Titania, Elvish Piper, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, Soul Ring, Bloodstained Mile, Prismatic Vista, and a Forest. And finally, Andrew keeps an opening hand of Bantu's Monument, Pawn of Ulamog, Golgari Grave Troll, Overgrown Tomb, Sandstep Citadel, and 2 forests. Going first is Sean, who leads on Forest and a Soul Ring, passes to Andrew. Andrew draws and plays a tapped Sandstep Citadel, passes to Eric. Eric draws and plays an Ancient Tomb, passes to Timmie. Timmie plays a Mountain and passes to Sean. Sean untaps and draws, plays a Mountain and taps out to cast Guardian Project, and passes to Andrew, who untaps and draws. He plays a tapped Overgrown Tomb and passes. Eric plays Tarnished Citadel, taps both, taking 2 from the Ancient Tomb to cast his equipment, Sword of Light and Shadow, passes to Timmie. Timmie plays a Mountain and taps 2 to cast Throne of Geth and passes to Sean, who untaps and draws. Sean taps for 3 mana to cast Dryad of the Elysian Grove, drawing a card off the Guardian Project, and is now able to play 2 lands for turn, both fetch lands. He cracks both to go and find Snow-Covered Forest and Taiga. He taps 2 to cast Nature's Lore to search his library for a Cinderglade, which comes into play untapped because he controls at least 2 basics. And then he taps 2 to cast Priest of Titania, drawing another card from the Guardian Project and passing to Andrew. Andrew untaps and draws, plays an Isolated Chapel, and taps 3 mana to cast Bantu's Monument, which will reduce the cost of his black creature spells, passes to Eric, who untaps and draws, plays a Plains, and casts Banishing Light, targeting Sean's Guardian Project, and taking 2 damage from the Ancient Tomb. Passes to Timmie, who plays a Mountain, and casts Blood Moon, which crushes Eric and Andrew and affects Sean hardly at all, and passes to Sean, who untaps and draws, and taps 6 mana for a Soul of the Harvest, plays a Forest, taps the Priest and 2 lands to cast Springbloom Druid, sacrificing the Cinderglade to go and get a couple more basics, and then attacks Eric for 2. Well, draws the card off of Soul of the Harvest and then attacks Eric for 2, and passes to Andrew, who untaps, draws, plays a Swamp, passes to Eric. Eric untaps, draws, and plays a Darksteel Mutation, nerfing the 6/6 Soul of the Harvest down to a 0/1. Timmie plays a land, casts a Silent Arbiter, and passes to Sean, who untaps, draws, taps 4 for his commander, Mina Den Wildborn, And now, since only one creature can attack, the Dryad hits Eric for 2 more. Andrew, with nothing else, taps 5 to play a 0/0 Grave Troll and get it in the graveyard, and passes to Eric, who untaps his 2 mountains and plains, taps 2 for his Stoneforge Mystic, searching up Sword of the Animus to hand, and passes to Timmie. Timmie draws. Taps 3 for Basalt Monolith. Then taps a mountain and the Basalt Monolith for his other kid.
No, that actually hurts me.
Oh, awesome. He's got
Jesus
the sword,
fucking Christ.
Awesome. So we draw
this is what I'm looking for mana for, dude.
Timmy, what are you doing?
This player.
Obviously.
I'm a nice guy.
I've made a few mistakes
So
in
you
this
realize
game.
what just happened, right?
I've made a few mistakes.
So you've got the guy who's the runaway train who has 2 cards in his hand.
I'm sure I didn't roll.
Who complained about not having cards in his hand. I got rid of his draw.
And I gave him draw.
And you filled his hand.
I'm stupid.
In the meantime, Sean had played 3 lands for turn. After Timmie passed, taps a Soul Ring for Lightning Greaves, newly acquired off the wheel. Taps 7 for Dracuseth, Maw of Flame, equips the Lightning Greave, and moves to combat, swinging 7 at Eric, plus 4 from the Dracuseth, shooting 3 at the Stoneforge, and 3 at Timmie. Then casts a Sylvan Safekeeper and passes to Andrew. Andrew untaps and dredges his Golgari Grave Troll, putting 6 fresh cards into the graveyard. And the Grave Troll back in his hand. He plays a Swamp. Casts a Paradise Druid, followed by Elixir of Immortality, and finally casts Buried Alive in order to shortcut passes to Eric while he searches for 3 creatures to put in his graveyard. Eric plays a Plains and passes. Timmie untaps, draws, plays a Mountain, and taps 6 to cast Thopter Assembly, a 5/5 flyer, and passes to Sean, who untaps, draws, and moves to combat, swinging Dracuseth again at Eric for a total of 11, shooting 3 at Andrew and 3 at Timmie. Plays a Castle Garenbrig and passes to Andrew. Andrew untaps, draws, plays a land, and taps 7 lands to cast Nethroi, Apex of Death, for Mutate onto his Paradise Druid, triggering Mutate and getting back Night of Autumn, which takes out the Blood Moon, Blood Artist, Lurrus, Pawn of Ulamog, Gigantomancer, and an Eternal Witness for a total of 10 power, and getting Dictate of Erebos back from his graveyard. Then swings Nethroi at Sean, who blocks with the Indestructible 0/1. And passes to Eric, who plays a Plains and passes to Timmie. On Timmie's upkeep, the Thopter Assembly pops back to his hand and makes 5 Thopters. He plays a mountain, or a land for turn. He taps for 4 mana to cast Daretti, plussing Daretti, discarding 2 to draw 2. And then passes to Sean. On Timmie's end step, Sean activates Mina Denn to put a land back into his hand, and then untaps, draws, and goes to combat, swinging for 11 again at Eric, and using the Dracuseth trigger to take out Lurrus and the Gigantomancer, which using the Blood Artist drains Sean. And with Eric dead, Sean gets back his 2 card draw effects, plays another land, and then taps to cast Fauna Shaman, drawing 2 cards, and casts Renin 6, ticking down to shoot the Blood Artist, which drains Sean for 1 again. And then moves to equip Lightning Greaves onto Fauna Shaman, activates the Fauna Shaman, discarding a creature card to go and search his library for Tireless Tracker, which he then casts, drawing 2. And then starts playing a series of lands, making a bunch of clues. He then casts Dockside Extortionist, making a whole bunch of treasures, drawing 2. Taps the Priest of Titania. Realizes that Nethroi is not an elf, even though it's mutated onto Paradise Druid. And casts Azusa, Lost But Seeking, drawing 2 cards off the Soul of the Harvest and Guardian project. Plays another land, making another clue. Another land, making another clue. And passes to Andrew. Andrew untaps, plays a forest, casts Dictate of Erebos, and then taps 3 to cast his Ashnod's Altar, sacrificing all his creatures. And thanks to Dictate, Sean and Timmie also have to sacrifice, I believe it was 6 creatures in total. So Timmie sacked one of his artifacts to the Throne of Geth to proliferate Daretti in response to the Dictate triggers. Sean loses a whole bunch of creatures and is left with a few. So Andrew scoops. Timmie pluses Daretti, discarding 2 to draw 2. Casts a Soul Ring. And then taps out to cast a very large Magma Quake. With that on the stack, Sean will now start sacrificing clues to grow his Tireless Tracker up to 7 toughness, since the Magma Quake was for 6. And when it's all said and done, Renin 6 and the 2 other creatures die, leaving behind Dracuseth and Tireless Tracker. Sean then swings the Dracuseth and the Tireless Tracker at Timmie for a total of 19, using a Dracuseth trigger to shoot Daretti. And then starts casting creatures and drawing cards. Lots of creatures, lots of cards. Timmie, realizing he's way too far behind, scoops it up. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos from Wizards of the East Coast.